Kia ora ngā hoa. On today's video we're going to be doing an exothermic experiment. It's going to be a chemical reaction, and what I mean by exothermic is one of the byproducts of this experiment is it's going to give off heat. Now you're not going to be able to see the heat with the exception of some steam. It's not going to be anything furious or flames or anything like that, but that's what's going to happen in this experiment. And the secondary byproduct of it, other than the exothermic part where it releases the steam, is going to be hydrogen gas. Now for this particular experiment I'm just going to show you the reaction, but at a later time when I have more equipment that will allow me to capture the hydrogen, we'll capture it and I'll show you some experiments to show you that it is actually hydrogen. But for now, stick around and I'll see you in the video. This experiment, because it's exothermic and the gaseous byproducts being hydrogen gas, I'm not going to actually tell you some of the things that I put in here because I don't want you performing this at home, because I know some of you will try, even though I say adult supervision, some of you will try it without adult supervision and might get hurt. So basically what we're going to put in first is Mr. Ashley's secret powder. That's the other reason why we're doing it outside and not inside, because with it being exothermic and those gases being released, we don't want to do it in an enclosed area. Now the next thing that I just put in was aluminum foil I should say, and then this is just plain pure water. So there's already a little bit of bubbling, but I'd say that's from the air escaping from the inside. So what I need to do now is give it a good mix, because I want that powder to start diluting and dissolving into the water so that it is able to react with the aluminum foil. So I've brought you a little bit closer so you can see the mixture before it really starts to go, and you can see in there that's the aluminum foil and the powder, and it's well mixed into the water now. There is somewhat of a reaction starting to happen already. There's a bit of movement in there. What we'll do is we'll just go over the jar. Now you can hear and you can see bubbles. Soon you really start to get a fizzing sound. Now I used warm water and this helps accelerate the experiment somewhat. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep watching. So we're really starting to see the breakdown of the aluminium now, and if we compare to earlier in the video, it's becoming like a grey slurry, and that's the aluminum mixing in. Now I'm just touching the jar. Now it's starting to get a little bit warm, but I know it can get a lot hotter. So it's taking quite some time this time, and I think even though I cut it into fine strips, some of the tinfoil was folded in half, so the acid is having a hard time breaking down the aluminum. It's not working as fast as it normally would. So you can see here that our aluminum has turned into a bit of a slurry now, and it looks a bit like paper mache. And what's happened is the acid that we created using our powder and water has broken down and decomposed the aluminum. Now all those little bubbles, that's hydrogen gases escaping from the chemical reaction taking place. Now it is exothermic, it's warm to the touch, but it's not hot, which means that it's not giving off any steam. So if I back out, there's no steam coming off there, but just to show you that effect, what I'll do is I'll edit in the video that I did yesterday that shows the steam coming off. So that's quite disappointing in and of itself, and I think that has a lot to do with today being a bit colder than yesterday, so this not being very insulated, this glass jar, it's not able to get hot enough for it to produce steam, but it is warm to the touch. Oh wow, that's really hot now. So at this point, this is where I need to be careful that I don't damage anything. Now the contact or the radiant heat off this shouldn't be enough that I'll damage anything, but at the same time I've got to be careful touching it. Now, just to give you an idea of the gases that I'm collecting, if I just puff that in front of the camera, you can see all the steam escaping. That's hydrogen gas, and if I was to light it, it'd make a fireball, which we're not going to do. Not today anyway, but that's a cool experiment to do if you're able to do that sort of thing. Now I'm going to show you inside the jar now. Basically what happens during this reaction is that the aluminum decomposes. You can see there that effervescence and that fizzing. That's the hydrogen gas being formed with my secret powder and the aluminum shavings, and plus the water. So we're back inside again, guys, and the experiment's pretty much over. And basically what's happened is if I get nice and close here, all of that slurry is the decomposed aluminium that's decomposed and been broken down into our acid mix that we made using water and my secret powder X. And so it's exothermic, like the jar is warm to the touch, and that's not my body heat. My hands are colder than what the jar feels at the moment, and by comparison to further up the top of the jar, it's like quite warm there, and then relatively, I wouldn't say hot, but warmer there. So it's a bit of a shame, and no steam was produced this time, and I wonder if it's the days, like you can kind of see out there, it's quite overcast outside, it's quite cold, we're really into winter now, and it wasn't able to produce as much heat. Now if I probably redid this experiment, chopped up the aluminium shavings even finer and added a bit of hot water to really dissolve up my powder properly, I think it would probably go for it. But what I'll do is, so you can actually see the steam being produced, I'll edit in some of the footage I took yesterday where we could actually see steam. Now, like I said, I'm not going to tell you what the powder is, but we're going to do this experiment again. We're going to collect the hydrogen, and we're going to do some experiments using the hydrogen gas to show you what hydrogen actually does. But for now, if you like this video, hit like. If you want to subscribe to the channel in general, subscribe. But for now, ka kite anō, and I'll see you next time on Mr. Ashley's Place.